Well, thank you very much for inviting me to come over to give a short talk about the FAITAG. It's good to see all of you here, and it's really good to see, I just saw a few presentations already. It's really good to see how much information is shared, really fun. FAITAG elasmobranch breeding programs. Many of you probably have heard already about it, but I thought maybe it's good to give a short introduction about the program. Let's see. I think I just... So first something about the FAITAG itself, the different program types you have, the expectations we all have, the participation, the possibilities, and the elasmobranch census. Just some background information first about the FAITAG itself. The Fish and Aquatic Invertebrate Taxon Advisory Group, it's a very big wording, so that's why it's easy to say it as a FAITAG. But it's an organization which is partly of EASA, partly of the OIAC, and mostly from the whole aquarium community. So there is no real person that is involved in it. The chair is already for quite a while Brian Zimmerman from London Zoo, and the FAITAG started in 1998. Since then, a few parts of the FAITAG have been developed. The first one was the elasmobranch, which was since 2013. The freshwater teleost was formed last year, and hopefully next year we will start to develop the marine teleost group, and hopefully in the future there will be more initiatives. Every group, every part of the FAITAG has a co-chair. Anton Weissenbacher is the co-chair of the freshwaters. I'm the co-chair of the elasmobranch, and there is currently for the marine teleost also a co-chair proposed, which is Daniel Abet from Vienna. And hopefully, and I see that also already happening, I was just seeing some talks about jellyfish, and there are also many future areas that we need to cover, of course. The FAITAG elasmobranch part, there are a lot of ESBs, a lot of stud books, and a lot of monitoring programs, and there is a lot of development there, and that's what I would like to show you what happened in the last couple of years. But I also see there is so much development that it's impossible to co-chair only by myself. I mean, all the coordinators are doing a great job and have a lot of fun gathering all the information and trying to organize their population. But we have decided to start a steering committee. Chris and John Denise are also in this steering committee, and it's very, very important to get more people on board so we get more professionalized in the different programs. The first fishy programs that were started on the elasmobranch were on Tenura lima and on Stegostoma, and since then there have been many, many new programs started up. But it was quite important to know a little bit what we have. That's why in 2011 I did a census, an elasmobranch census all over Europe to see a little bit what's in Europe, what do we all have. So it was just as curiosity to see which species we have, also to know a little bit more about our breeding potential, who is breeding what, which species are bred, and it was also a good way of getting contact at all. I mean, it's so rarely done yet in between and aquaria that there is a lot of communication, a lot of census coming up, and that's something which really changes now more and more when the FAITAG is getting more and more formed. Just to give you some information about the census, which is a census over the period of 2006 and 2010. 41 shark species, 50 ray species, and a total of 92 species of elasmobranchs in Europe, which is not an enormous amount, but still it's about 8 to 9% of all the elasmobranchs living in nature, in the whole world. So it's a pretty good amount. And mind you, this was only 66 aquaria in Europe that were reacting. So there are many, many more aquaria that I could not reach, or they didn't answer, or they thought, I don't have time for it. You know how that all happens. So yeah, we had to look, and I was already happy with 66, but we should know, of course, much more about it. Just some figures. In total, about 3,100 animals were in the census. And it gave a lot of information, and I don't have the time because I need the whole afternoon, which I could not get, to show what information you can get from such a census, and it's amazing. For example, the captive breeding on the sharks, 22 species, so 54% of all the species which were in the census were captive bred. Not all very much, as you can see, but some very, very much. But still there's a lot of potential, and it's really good to see that so many aquaria are actively breeding. Same is happening with the rays, a little bit less in percentage, 18 species, but still there is much more happening than in any case I would have expected before I started the census. And there is one chimera species, so 100% of all the species in Europe are captive bred species, so it's really nice. But it's a very rare breeding effort on this species. To get a little bit more organized in the FAITAG, in the elasmobranch, we had a group. Some of you were there in a regional collection planning meeting at London Zoo in 2013. And with the regional collection planning, we tried to get a little bit more of a feeling, where are we and where should we go? So there is a decision tree used, whether or not a species is interested to become potentially coordinated by somebody into a breeding program. Just to give you a very short notice about this, so we had three major decision parts where we had to look at, which was the conservation status, the education status, and the research status. So every species which we have in Europe, we pushed towards the different statuses, and we were looking at, for example, what type of CITES is it, what type of IUCN status has it has special recommendations from the IUCN Shark Specialist Group. Does it has any potential in affecting an in situ conservation project? Is there even a reintroduction potential? And what is the distribution in this time the EASA region? For the educational part, we were looking at the potential for creating a European-wide collaboration educational message. Is the species very unique in its in taxonomy? And again, distribution. And of course, the research status, yeah, you can go very far in this on collaborative scientific research. Well, the IUCN status, I believe I saw already in the folder that you had already a talk about that, so you know all about it now already. So just to summarize a little bit about the IUCN status, this is the overview of all the elasmobranchs in the world, how the IUCN thinks the status is of these animals, and this is from the census. So this is the species from the census. You see, of course, it's much more or less, but this is quite an important graph, because from this graph, from the right part of the graph, I want to look further into where are we now at this point with the programs. And then you suddenly see, if you look at the yellow bars, is that these are all the species we currently have in programs running. So which is really, really good, and really good to see so much interest from all of you and from the whole aquarium community to coordinate and to start more to organize the breeding programs. Well, there are different types of breeding programs. Chris mentioned already his program on the Melanopterus. It's an ESB. It's a medium intensity level of management on an individual basis. So we have to know exactly from every individual who are the parents, what is the background, where are they caught if they are wild born. It's very important from the stud book point of view to look at a healthy genetic population also for the future, of course. So you have to swap a lot of animals. There will be a stud book overview, and even we are looking now more and more into breeding and transfer recommendations. And I know when I start to talk about recommendations that some aquaria were thinking, oops, not my animals, I don't want to take them somewhere else. But we try to, as in the different programs, we try to start with these recommendations. And I think it's really, really important for the genetic basis of the population to swap animals. And sometimes if you have a charismatic animal and you don't want to lose it, okay, then you don't send it out. I mean, it's not prohibited, you don't have to do it yet, but I think it's really important that we have to look at a higher level of genetic the population. Husbandry issues, there are many husbandry issues to solve, so this is something a coordinator can do. And when possible, we also start to look at more and more into finding to best practice guidelines on the husbandry. So the developments of the different stat books, here you can see we have now 9 stat books up and running in Europe, which is pretty good, I think. This is just a very quick overview of the different programs that are in. If any of you are thinking, hey, I have this species and I'm not yet in the program, please contact the coordinators. I will make sure you will get the list via Chris and send it around to all of you, that you have all the different contacts. Monitoring is a lower level management, lower intensity level of management of a population. Some of the coordinators keep it on a population level, so only look at the whole trend within the population, and some are even going further, like Jean-Denis was already mentioning with the undulata, is that he is even looking at the individual. So it depends a bit on the coordinator how deep he wants to go into the population. It's important to have an overview once every year or once every 2 years. And as a coordinator, you can also easily monitor the husbandry problem, because suddenly you are a central person that hears a lot. I have this problem and I have that problem and you have that problem. And as a coordinator, when you hear about all these problems, it's really important to compile this. So you know a little bit what is happening with the species. And some people will find a solution, other people have tried different things, and that's how we should develop it further and get a higher level of husbandry together. Well, on the monitoring, it's just started in 2013, so it's developing a little bit further. A lot of programs. Most of the programs are up and running now pretty well. Most of them already created reports. Again, it's a big list. Again, I will send this list around to all of you later. A lot of year reports are produced, so it's a lot of administration. The coordinator has to put a lot of time and effort in his program, and this is fun. It's really fun to see that all these coordinators really want to do that also, and really think it's necessary to do this. And I hope that we get in the future further and further with these programs. So why participate? Well, it's a very good and very easy way of getting animals for free. I mean, you can just swap animals, you can just get animals. You know more about the surplus, even if you are breeding yourself a lot with a certain species and you don't know anymore what to do with the surplus. A coordinator can help you to send it to others. Really important is work towards potential breeding couples. You see with a lot of programs that there were many animals sitting on their own, or just 2 females or just 2 males, and just swapping around and creating breeding couples will get more in the future. And husbandry info. Of course you can give husbandry info, but you can also get a lot of info back, and we can all learn from each other in that. It's a very good way of getting one central contact person, so you can always know if I want to know anything about Melanopterus, you have to get to Chris, because he should know the most of the species, or he knows some person that know exactly more about that specific item. You get program overviews, so you know a little bit what's happening, and most important, of course, we have a genetic healthy population for the future. And this is for the ethical and sustainability of a population, really important, because this is where we should work all towards, is my feeling. So what can you do? Well, it's very easy. Participate, that's of course the most easy thing to say. And what does that mean? What does that mean if you start to participate? Well, you have to send in your data once a year, or whenever you think you have some new data. You can also send it earlier to the coordinator. communicate with the coordinator about surplus, or you're looking for a male or you're looking for a female. It's a very good way of getting new animals in, and fill in husbandry questionnaires. I mean, this is the basics normally that you should do if you are participating within such a program. Well, I mentioned already some results on the census in 2011, and I thought it was really good to see, to get more of a feeling what is happening in Europe. So that's why we decided to start a new census, which is in 2016 in January. Here we will look at, again, a 5 years population trend, look at the number of births per species, see if there are different species or not. Hopefully we will get more participants, so that's also one of the reasons why I really would like to urge you all, please answer to the census. And what's also new is that I want to include some water quality parameters. It's purely the basics of the water quality parameters, so pH, salinity, temperature, phosphate, nitrate. I think these are the most important basic features, but it gives you in any case already a little bit of a feeling on what's happening in all the different aquaria. Maybe you want to put more into the census, but maybe not, because you don't want to have too many questions, because then you think in your email box, I have not the time to fill that in, let's not do it, and that's a pity. So we will send the census to all the people that reacted in the 2011 census, to all EASA members with an aquarium, all OIAC members, also all the Sea Life Center will get a census. All the participants which are already in the different programs, and I just got, for example, a report in from a freshwater stingray, and I saw many aquaria I've never heard about, so it's really good to see that you get a lot of context from these different programs. And if there are people here already saying, okay, I would love to participate and I'm not on the list, please contact me so I have your data, and we will send the census on later. So this is what I would like to tell you about the FAITAG. Thank you.